To remove your weaving from the loom, we need to follow a series of very careful procedural steps. The first thing is to take your name tag off of the back and stick it directly onto your weaving. It's really important that you move the label to the weaving itself and not just the strings on the back, because as soon as we take these off, all of them look very similar. The next thing we will do on the back is look for the middle of the warp strings. I'm going to use a pair of scissors and carefully cut across the middle of these warp strings. Now, since I've cut them off, I need to be very careful that I don't tangle them up or get them lost. So that our weaving can be secured, we need to begin to make a series of knots. I'm going to flip it over and start with these warp strings on the bottom. I'm also going to move the camera so you can see closer. Here you can see the very bottom strings. Some of them are still hooked into the loom. I can gently unhook them. And I want to tie every pair of strings into a double knot. So I'm going to start on either the left or the right. It doesn't really matter. Here I'm starting on the left. I'm going to take the two strings, cross one over, tuck the end under and pull, and then do that same thing again to make a square knot or a double knot. If it's not exactly a square knot, if it's just a double knot, that's fine. The second knot on each one I'm going to really pull to make sure it's nice and tight. Then I go to the next pair. So to tie a knot, I'm going to make an X, tuck the end under and pull, and I do that twice for each pair. Make an X, tuck the end under, grab it, and pull. All the way across until I have all of my knots made. It's super important that you're being careful to knot every pair. If we neglect this step and just start to carry our weaving around, eventually all of the strings and all of the hard work you put in would unravel. We don't want that to happen. So it's critical to pay attention now and focus now so that you can keep your weaving as a beautiful artwork for a long time. So every single pair I'm putting in a double knot. I like to slide the strings off to the side once they're knotted just to get them out of my way so it's easier and quicker for me to see what I have and have not knotted yet. Alright, you'll notice right now I have 5 strings, which might seem like a problem because that's an odd number and we are knotting in pairs. It won't be a problem. Here's how we're going to fix it. I'm going to do this pair as a double knot, push them out of the way. I'm left with 3 remaining strings. The first 2 I will tie in a double knot just like we've been doing. First knot, second knot. Now I have my solo string left over. I'm going to borrow one of the strings from the pair I just did and tie it in a knot. Now we need to do the exact same thing with our strings at the top. So I'm going to gently grab my weaving. I can pull it all the way off of the loom. So I can get rid of the loom and I can see my strings right here. And then I'm going to tie them in pairs just like we did before. It doesn't really matter which end you start on. Again, you're going to make a double knot and go all the way across. So there's my first knot. And here's my second knot. Then I'll move this one out of the way, find the next pair of strings, double knot it, until I've finished making all of my knots. There are some things we can do with the strings after the weaving is secured, but our first priority today is tying all of our knots so we can preserve our hard work in our weavings. If you have questions, you can ask people at your table. If someone asks you a question and you know the answer, please be helpful and explain. If you don't know and no one at your table knows, then you can ask Ms. Beyerle-White a question, and I am happy to help as well. So we're just making double knots all the way across. I would still have these ones left to finish, but once you've tied all of your knots, your weaving will be secure, and that's what we're working on today.